Hey everyone, it's Amy here, presenter and producer of the Eerie Excursion podcast, the podcast that tells eerie tales from around the UK, as told by local tour guides and experts. So, as I have been saying all week, season 2 is coming out on the 17th of September, so make sure you don't miss that by subscribing below wherever you listen to your podcasts. So in the meantime, I've been doing a deep dive slash highlights from episodes from season 1. Today, I'm revisiting my episode in Birmingham, the UK's second city. And here it is on the map for anyone who is unfamiliar with UK geography. My guide here was Al from Explore Birmingham, and I'll include links to Explore Birmingham below so you can actually do Al's tour yourself and hear the stories for yourself. Now, what I loved about this episode, and it's something that Al sort of said to me as we were going in sort of pre-production. So the tour isn't actually that, there's not that many ghosts on the tour, but it is full of some gruesome tales. Now, we do have one ghost story to tell, which I will do in a second. But the reason why I love this is because the podcast is called Eerie Excursions for the reason that we like to hear tales of the uncanny, sort of weird folk stories. It's not just about ghosts, which is why I really do love this episode. Anyway, so the episode, like I said, does begin with a ghost, but it's more of a Casper type. It's sort of a friendly ghost. I'll let Al tell the story.
So this is the grave of Moses Barber. Now, Moses Barber died of tuberculosis, aged 40 in 1853. He is noted to be the first police officer in Birmingham to die whilst he was still a serving officer. Now, he lived locally, and this was his patch, and it is believed this continues to be his patch in death as well. So the stories have been passed down that he continues to haunt the square through the police force as well. All these hard-headed police officers I've seen, the 1960s, they used to tell the police officers they didn't need to bother with the square because Moses was looking after the square.
I think what I found fascinating about the Moses Barber story is that the police were also sort of believed the ghost story too, just like Al said in that clip. I mean, he did go on to say that nowadays police don't get away with saying, oh, you can't cover that patch, but they do still pass on his story. And Al has a lot of locals who go on his tour, and a lot of them say, they feel very safe in that square. Not a lot of crime happens there. Could it be because of Moses? Who knows? It's just a nice story. It's a different story from, scary ghosts. Right, anyway, time for something a little bit more eerie then. So this story is actually who the episode is named after. It's the story of John Baskerville, and it's about his afterlife, not as a ghost, but about his corpse. For some context, this here is the cemetery where his final resting place is, but it took him 125 years to get to the cemetery. So essentially, John was somewhat of an atheist, as much as an 18th century person can be, because this is before Charles Darwin. He didn't necessarily believe or like organized religion, and so his final wishes when he died in 1775 was that he wanted to be buried on his own grounds. Now, cut to about 50 years later, and his coffin gets dug up.
At that point, the canals have arrived into that part of Birmingham. There's lots of excavation. His coffin comes up out of the ground, and it seems that there are no next of kin or anybody that can legally or legitimately take charge of his coffin, so it simply gets moved to a warehouse nearby. We don't really know why, but the people who do have charge of the body decide they're going to see how he's doing, so they prise the lid off the coffin to have a look. You're wondering about the decomposition. This is the interesting thing, because it was a lead coffin that he was buried in. It's done an incredibly good job of preserving the body. So when they open it, apparently, lovely details that you get in some of the records. There's a wonderful smell of cheese. But The shroud that the body is wrapped in is intact, and when they look, he's still in really good condition: hair, eyes, teeth, skin. So he's looking quite presentable. So maybe it's for that reason they decide they can make some money from him and start showing his corpse to members of the public.
So I don't think I actually emphasized how important this guy was in for Birmingham when he was alive. You might actually recognize the name Baskerville, as in Baskerville, the font that you can get on modern day computers, because he was a printer. And it's just incredible that in his life he was so important, and in his death he became something of a bit of a spectacle, really. Of course, this isn't the end of John's story, but this video, as always, is only a short little insight into the episode. So I'll leave it on somewhat of a cliffhanger. Obviously, you know where he ends up, but definitely you can listen to more of the story. Al has so much more information and detail in the episode. And yeah, I'll put a link to the episode 1 in the show notes below. And you can listen to stories about John and other stories that Al's told, other than obviously Moses as well. And like I have been saying, remember to subscribe so you don't miss season 2 coming out on the 17th of September.